So finally, we have land to wrap up Fort de Vaux. So Fort de Vaux in Vaux, Viet de Lons, Meuse, France, was built from 1881 to 1884 with more than a million point five francs and housed a garrison of more than 150 men. Vaux was the second fort to fall in the Battle of Verdun after Fort Douaumont, which we would talk about later, which was captured by a small German raiding party on February 1916 in the confusion of the French retreat from the Woyevan Plain. So Fort de Vaux was actually very modernized before 1915 with reinforced concrete and protection like Fort Douaumont at that time, and was not destroyed as bad as Fort Douaumont by German heavy artillery or Tomahawk had included about 16-inch howitzers, so it was pretty stable, pretty hard to destroy Fort Vaux. So they had 16-inch howitzers, so it was pretty hard to destroy the structural integrity of Fort Vaux. The superstructure fort was badly damaged though, but the garrison was deep interior quarters and stations remained intact with the fort even being attacked on June the 2nd by German assault troops. So the defense of Fort de Vaux was marked not only by heroism but endurance as well, and you'll see why endurance, of the garrison, including Major Sylvain Eugene Renault. Under his command, the besieged French garrison repulsed the German assault attacks, including fighting on the ground from barracks inside the corridors during the first big engagements inside the fall of World War I. The last men of the French garrison gave up after running out of water, some which was actually poison, ammunition, medical supplies, and food ran out. So Renault sent several messages via homing pigeon, including the famous Valiant, requesting relief for his soldiers. During his last communication, Major Renault wrote, "This is my last pigeon." After the surrender of the garrison on June the 7th, the German army commander Crown Prince Wilhelm, or Little Willie as he was called, presented Major Renault, the French officer, with his sword as a sign of respect. Renault and his soldiers remained in captivity in Germany until the armistice of 1918. The fort was recaptured by the French, of course, on November the 2nd, 1916, after the artillery bombardment, including two long-range 400mm 16-inch railway guns. After it was recaptured, Fort Vaux was repaired and garrisoned again. So the water reserve was actually quadrupled, and the light source was now provided by two big electrical generators. Some damage from the fighting on June the 2nd can still be seen up to this day. The on-the-ground installation of the fort was well preserved and currently is open to the public via visits. So just some quick facts here. So this is basically the timeline of Fort de Vaux. So we go from September the 11th, 1914, Torrent 75 fired 22 shots at the German detachment in Bos de Barras. February the 8th, 1915, the fort is bombarded for the first time by 12-inch 42cm round, which caused very little damage because it's very well reinforced. So at the end of 1915, it was armed for the French to actually get the guns to send elsewhere and other ammunitions to go to the French line, because Fort de Vaux, the ring of forts around Verdun itself were, very quiet sector actually, very quiet, nothing really going on in Verdun. So not only Fort de Vaux had this take away the guns, take away most of the ammunition, probably take away a bit of water supply, but Fort Douaumont suffered this, and a lot of other forts suffered the, it's a quiet sector, so we're going to take away most of your stuff from this sector and use it on the front line where it's really needed. So after 1915, in January 1916, they barely had enough gunpowder, which was possible to So actually in 1916, this is very gruesome, they have actually enough gunpowder in store, which is actually possible enough to actually destroy the fort itself in a way, or blow up the enemies inside if they ever get into the fort, if the enemies actually approach. So that's pretty gruesome. But on February the 21st to the infamous 26th, 1916, the fort is obviously bombarded with shells of all sizes, including 129 heavy shells. Pillboxes take very heavy damage. Armored auxiliaries also take damage. Commands were cut. Galleries leading to the Torrent 75 were also very heavily damaged. So in late February, early March 19. So on May the 14th, 1916, Commander Rennell takes command of the fort, which has no artillery. June the 1st, 1916, the Germans begin preparation for the invasion of the fort through the Vaux de la Secrete. They cannot be stopped due to the fort having no artillery at the time, of course. On June the 2nd to the 3rd, 1916, the Germans, of course, attacked the fort with flamethrowers and other stormtrooper-esque tactics, and most of the men retreated from the fort. The Germans began to enter the fort through the coffers and the Concy escape. So basically, they come from the escape routes. They come from the exit-only door, in a sense, basically. So, on June the 5th, 1916, Commander Renault requested the French army bomb the fort from the top. Is taken over by the Germans to allow part of the garrison to evacuate the fort. So, on June 1916, for 3 days, water supply is pretty much empty. The fighting takes place inside the galleries, and grenades, guns, and bayonets are used to deadly effect. Commander Renault is captured by the Germans under military honors. Had fought a very brave under extreme conditions with a very thirsty garrison, and a lot of people flat-fired the Great War. Even Westies here said that they actually leaked condensation from the walls. So that's tell you how deadly the water situation was in Fort Douaumont. And they were kind of fighting in the dark because they had electricity at the time, but it was not enough to power the whole garrison. So most of the fighting took place in the lower levels of the fort and very much on the ground. So it was really a fight of endurance. So I think that's land. Okay, land and sea. I may do tank and call it last because it's basically the second last thing I do before the finale, of course, which is the finale is more or less basically what happens after the war, in a sense. Obviously it's going to be the start of the fall. It's the beginning of the end of the French Empire, in a sense. So nothing really drastic, nothing really nothing really scary. Obviously, we'll talk about people that were going to leave the countries in World War II, and even a bit into the Cold War, all the way up to decolonization for the French in 1962. How about that? That's not too bad, 1962. So we're going to talk about leaders that were born throughout the 20s, inside the war itself, people who fought inside the war, people who goes on to lead the war, who fought both world wars, who were born in World War One, the French Resistance, and even the RSC may make an appearance. That's pretty much it. That's land and sea. And I may give you a little 5-minute tank video because I do have some good gameplay of hardcore in a ST light tank. So hey, I might as well send off the French, because I mean pretty much after they pretty much play Priest de Tahor on rotation. You actually have to find dedicated servers to actually play Fort de Vaux. So I'm glad I got Fort de Vaux back on, because I actually had to think about night combat and urban combat, which I will do, but I didn't want the French to actually have it, so I was actually looking for French Pacific ones. But turns out it's just urban and night combat for World War One in general. So that's pretty much it. So I might as well get all the. You don't even have to watch the end. So that's pretty much it, and learn something.